Whenever you are. Okay, we're on.
Where's my, here we go. All right, I'll call to order the emergency meeting of the Solvang City Council pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.5 B and 1. Thursday, March 12th, 2020, 7 p.m. Could I get a roll call?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, Mayor Pro Tem Clark.
Without a tie, here.
Noted. Councilmember Diarnes.
Here.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Waite.
Here.
Mayor Toussaint.
Here.
For the record, all present, Mayor, we have a quorum. Thank you.
Robert, you want to lead us in the pledge?
Yes, please. Stand, put your right hand over your heart, repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, first item is public communications, written or verbal. I have no speaker slips. There doesn't appear to be anyone here that wants to speak. I'll take this back to the council. We have item number 2, Santa Barbara County Public Health Officer Declaration of Public Health Emergency related to COVID-19 coronavirus. Staff report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Today's meeting is an emergency meeting of the Council called upon because we received news today from the County of Santa Barbara that they are issuing an official order by the county public health official on social distancing later today, and they're actually doing a press conference right now, as I believe the latest we received from them. They were starting at 6:30, and that's about when we actually received their signed proclamations. I have a declaration of a local health emergency by the county health officer and public health director for the coronavirus COVID-19, and to issue health orders as appropriate and needed. I also have a proclamation of local emergency by Director of Emergency Services for the coronavirus, which is the county CEO. The county has informed us that they have activated their Emergency Operations Center on a limited basis for media inquiries only at this point, but they are placing in order this health order mandating social distancing. And what they are doing is following the State of California Public Health Department and the governor's guidance, which was not binding until now, but was guiding limiting or not allowing social gatherings of 250 people or more, and also providing with directions about social gatherings and requiring that there would be space between people of 6 feet. So those requirements are now becoming an actual order by the County of Santa Barbara that the city would have to follow. So the item today is for you to direct staff to adopt this order from the County of Santa Barbara, in which case we would take it into effect for any permitting or any activities within the city. It is within the county's jurisdiction to enforce the order, so their public health is responsible for this, but the city would be proactively responding for this. For example, we did have some limited involvement in an event that's coming up on the weekend of Solvang Century Cycling event. It was actually supposed to start and end in Buellton, and it would be between Buellton City and the county to cancel that event as far as start and finish, but the city of Solvang had a limited permit for those bicyclists passing through the city of Solvang. So the city of Solvang recommendation for staff based on this order would be to seek authorization from you to cancel that permit at this point, and then the rest of that would be between Buellton and the county to handle the rest of the event in those cancellations. I just wanted to give you a little bit more background. I started this morning with, as you know, the President of the United States also has taken some actions recently. So we started this morning with all of the city officials being invited to a briefing with the White House. And they talked and gave us a little bit more detail on the actions that are being taken at the federal level. And so what they have been putting into effect, or actually it goes into effect tomorrow, where in addition to restrictions of travel from China and Iran, they're also placing restrictions on travel from the European Schengen zone. So that's the zone where Europeans don't have any parameters, requirements for, passports and whatnot. It's free zone for travel for them. So that zone is now going to be not allowed, those non-US citizens will not be allowed to come to the United States. US citizens still can go to Europe and come back from Europe, but they're required to be self-quarantined for 14 days. Some of the conversation that was from that briefing was that they stressed that the public health efforts are really a local executed effort, so it's not at the federal level, so that's at state and the counties, which is what's happening right now. They also talked about the fact that cargo planes are not quarantined and they are allowed to travel. Local jurisdictions can apply additional, more stricter restrictions on that, but they also stressed that it's very important for us to keep economic channels flowing to ensure that everybody has the required supplies, as our economies are all tied together, and they're looking for not disturbing the economic impact. They also had some direction from CDC where they were recommending to slow down, to mitigate, contain where possible, but for everybody to also focus on mitigating the coronavirus disease and slowing down the spread of the virus to ensure that health officials or health professionals are not overwhelmed, and to cancel gatherings, extend hours of non-operation for schools, and encourage telecommuting. So those are the guidelines from, or a briefing from the federal government. The state, obviously, as I've discussed, has given us guidance, and now the County of Santa Barbara has actually adopted it into a binding order for our city. And recommendations tonight are for the city of Solvang to adopt the order of the Santa Barbara County and amend our actions accordingly. We would also like to say that we would like to proactively work with local businesses and make sure that we can collaboratively come up with any venues that we can to help local businesses and seek partnerships with banks, etc., to see if there can be small loan business loans for businesses as their cash flows may be impacted by the economic impact based on these orders and slowing down in the economy. And we would also seek any funding under the disaster declarations from state and federal government as well.
Okay. Are there any questions of the staff report?
Yes, I have a question. I heard you mention the Solvang Century Ride and the possibility of pulling our permits to allow cyclists to ride through Solvang. Can you elaborate on that?
So even though it's called Solvang Century Cycling Event, it actually takes place and finishes in the city of Buellton, so it's primarily permitted by the city of Buellton. The city of Solvang had a permit. There's 5 different routes, and 2 of the longest routes there's a passage through the city of Solvang streets. So back in 2019, the city had permitted that activity to take place in the city of Solvang. Recommendation would be to pull that permit because of this new order. However, we still allow biking on the streets. So other than us pulling the permit officially to hold this event, we are not going to be enforcing biking or any other traffic patterns in the city of Solvang.
Okay, so my next question is, where do the promoters of the Solvang Century Ride stand on this? Have they canceled the ride?
We do not have that information yet. So the County of Santa Barbara, as I mentioned, had given us a very short heads up on issuing this order. This is very much same time as the county is issuing their press release. So until the press release was issued, this was not actually official. So now this is official, and we can reach out to the organizers of the event to let them know what the city of Solvang actions would be.
And it's probably pretty likely that whatever the county's doing would create the event for Buellton to cancel that permit, I would
Well,
presume.
Yeah.
My understanding from the call today, we had a call with Santa Barbara that lasted about an hour, and it is within the county's public health department jurisdiction to enforce their order. So given that this event is over 250 people, as I understand, it would be the county's jurisdiction to actually not allow for the event to take place.
I would have to think that the people putting on this event have been playing it by ear since however long, because everything that we've all been involved in, or I've been involved in, has been, until further notice or et cetera. So I'm sure that they're abreast of what's going on. I mean, the bottom line on this thing, though, is they had a huge event at Fig Mountain, I believe, in Buellton, which obviously goes against what the county's asking. We can't stop anybody from riding a bicycle on Solvang streets. If people are checked into hotels here in Solvang, if they're going to be bringing their bikes up here, obviously I don't think there's anything against them coming here, staying at a hotel, eating in a restaurant, and riding their bicycle around Solvang just as an organized event. It can't. So these are extraordinary times. And I mean, I don't think a lot of city councils have had to deal with this kind of stuff. So, this is all new to everyone. So there's going to be complaints, there's going to be confusion. It is what it is, and here we are. So I just know that event in Buellton, I would imagine, is now technically not illegal, but not advised. But it doesn't stop anybody from riding a bicycle in Solvang if they're already staying in a hotel here.
Yeah.
Everything that Councilmember Clark just said is correct. I would note from a legal liability standpoint, we were pretty clearly told by the county health official today that he believed that event needed to be canceled. I would not want the city taking the risk of having an active permit when we've been given that
Totally agree.
clear direction from the county public health official.
And I totally agree.
I think
with you.
another aspect of some of this is, just like we were playing everything by ear, the last council meeting we had, I just kind of said to the council, hey, maybe that conference in San Diego that some members are going to might not be happening. That's now been canceled. Our league dinner here has now been canceled. I'd suspect also, even if that century moved forward, they might have a low turnout just because of the general climate right now.
Exactly.
People not willing to travel. So
I would just like to put out my opinion that I would prefer for us not to pull that permit unless the event is actually canceled. If the event is not actually canceled and the county hasn't mandated that they cancel the event, I don't see a reason for us to pull a permit. I think what everyone has to realize is that the number of cyclists that would be coming through Solvang are the cyclists that are riding the longer route, which is not the majority of the riders for this event. Most of the riders do the shorter events, and the congregation of individuals is not going to be more than 250 at one time riding through this town. The congregation will be in Buellton. That's where the start, the finish, the meals, the booths will be. It won't be in Solvang. It would be as if someone was just passing through. I wanted to make that very clear how I feel about that.
Which I'd agree. I mean, people just riding through the town, I think that's pretty low risk of anything happening. It's just more of a question of making sure that we're complying with the county and state guidelines that are coming out now, and any liability concerns that our city attorney
I
may
would
have.
say that our permit doesn't necessarily state that it's less than 250 people. That would be the only probably concern. Because when we were issuing the permit as a city, we didn't have those specifications.
And it was 3,000 roughly people.
Right.
Did the county give us any direction on this for Solvang? And I know there was some conversation about Buellton and where the events were, excuse me. But did they give us any specific reason that we should cancel, or any specific direction that we should cancel this permit?
I believe that they gave us specific direction that they believed that we should cancel this permit.
That's what I was thinking.
The
Okay.
reality is it's a legal thing. It's do we want to risk getting sued or not. That's all it is. Right. It's pretty straightforward. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious to me what we need to do, what everyone else has done. That's why everyone's canceling everything. It's all legalities. I mean, whether you believe that you're going to get sick and have issues is not exactly the reason everyone is doing all of these things.
And
I
there are
I
no,
understand that, it's
Yeah.
litigation driven.
It's just litigation. That's all it is.
and there are no known cases of coronavirus in Santa Barbara County as of today. Now, that could change tomorrow, but we don't know that yet.
I wouldn't
still doesn't
trust
matter
that.
for this issue.
I seriously wouldn't trust that.
And I know,
I know personal people who can attest to friends that have it, but they are under quarantine here in the county.
okay, yeah.
Okay.
Any other
So
questions?
I agree with
Are there any other
Daniel. This
questions
is a
of
legal
the
issue.
staff report?
Nope.
Did I hear that we have a drafted press release?
We have a drafted press release ready to go out as soon as council takes action describing everything that's going on and the action that the city is taking based on the new issued order by the county, as well as mentioning the impact to the Solvang Sanctuary cycling event specifically.
So do you want to read that draft press release right now for the
It's
council? to hear,
pretty
or-
long.
Okay.
I can.
No.
I just have one more question. So, if we were to, because we don't have any definitive answer if the race has been canceled or not,
By the race,
by the race coordinators, we do not have any definitive answer on that yet. Maybe we do, but I'm not on my phone or my computer right now. If we pull the permit in an emergency circumstance and the race isn't canceled and the county decides that it might be okay, can we give it back at the last minute?
no, it starts tomorrow.
Yeah, I believe that, I mean, theoretically we can, but I mean, I think we got a very clear direction from the county that they were not okay with this. Then, I mean, as soon as we mentioned the size of the event, the nature of the event, the public health official was on the call with us and specifically stated that it would be within their jurisdiction to enforce, and this is not the type of event that they would permit.
Okay, I mean, I know I take this very seriously. I'm just trying to reiterate the fact that there isn't a congregation of that many people here. They're passing through. So how do we determine who's actually in Solvang Sanctuary?
But we're also not the health department. There's, the argument would still be that 3,000 congregated in Buellton, and, even if one of them then came to Solvang, then that's the start, so it's just, it's not saying, I still see it's a low risk. I'm not disagreeing, but I'm just trying to deal with maybe what their perspective is on it, and
Yeah, and I don't want to fight the county on this.
Oh, no, I don't want to either, but I don't,
I think
With all
it's
due respect,
irrelevant.
yeah.
It's irrelevant whether there's 2 people riding through or 400,000. I mean, it is absolutely irrelevant. This is a legal issue that we have to pull. My opinion is we got to pull the permit. We can't open ourselves up, the city, up to a legal action for a bike race.
Yeah.
well, right, I just want to make sure we're following the legal guidelines. I'm not necessarily on board with your analogy that someone could
But right
come
now
over
you
here.
have staff
Anyone
telling
could
you,
come here.
right now you have staff telling you, they were on over an hour long phone call today with the county. This is staff's recommendation. And what I'm hearing from this council right now is for legal and compliance reasons, and let's not just fight the county kind of thing, that this is probably what we should do following staff recommendation.
It's more fun to fight the state than the county.
Yeah,
No, I understand, but do you have something in writing from the county
we have
that
two.
states
So
that?
we have not, so what you have with your packet is the governor's issued order.
I also
And-
just received a text message from Shelby Sim with Visit SYV saying the local Century Ride volunteers have all backed out. They will not have any support. Race will be canceled.
Okay, well, here we go.
Okay, well, thank you. That was the answer that I was waiting
You're
for.
waiting
Does that solve
Thank you
this?
very much.
So once again, just
Somebody's watching.
to clarify for people who are looking at our postings, what we have posted with the agenda is what we had at the time when we posted the agenda, which was around 5:30, I recall, today, which includes the executive order from the governor of California. It also includes some information on the guidance from the California Public Health Department. And what has come in as an official order, signed order from the county of Santa Barbara was shortly after 6 o'clock, which we will have posted online or we'll have linked to which are the official orders from the health official and the CEO for emergency declaration. So we have those now available.
Mr. Mayor, may I just read very quickly a part of this?
Yes.
So we were on the phone today with the two doctors, Henning and Sorg and Van Do Reynoso, who are, first one is the Santa Barbara County Health Officer, and the second is the Santa Barbara County Public Health Director. They have issued an order, and it says, it is ordered that, effective immediately until March 30th, 2020, consistent with the governor's social distancing guidance, the health officer is mandating cancellation or postponement of non-essential gatherings of 250 or more people, and small gatherings shall include 6-foot distancing between participants, particularly those at high risk for severe illness of COVID-19. Goes on to say this order applies in the incorporated and unincorporated areas of Santa Barbara County. We asked the two people who signed this order specifically about the bike race, and they said, yes, this order applies to that bike race. By the way, we also asked, what about the Wednesday evening farmers market? And they told us that, in fact, it does not apply to the farmers market. I found that interesting. I asked them if they could tell us other things it doesn't apply for, and this includes a list of some things that it doesn't apply to. I think that the only one which is not listed, but they told us specifically it does not apply to the farmers market.
Because that's shopping.
Yes.
Well, it's like telling people they can't go to the grocery store and buy food.
Exactly. Okay, thank you, Chip.
That's really interesting, because I saw that Santa Barbara, the city of Santa Barbara, did cancel their farmers market.
They can do that.
Yeah, they can. We specifically asked the question to clarify that.
Can we read the suggested press release?
Yeah, it's very long. So the city of Solvang, California has officially announced their full adherence to, in cooperation with, the County of Santa Barbara's Thursday, March 12, 2020 issuance of a county-wide public health emergency, which will hold through the end of March 2020. The Santa Barbara County issued public health order mandating social distancing policy follows the California Department of Health findings regarding COVID-19 as pertain to events and social gatherings. As of today, March 12, 2020, the Santa Barbara County and in turn the City of Solvang are requiring that all events of 250 or more persons be postponed or canceled. All smaller, non-essential gatherings held in venues which do not allow for adequate social distancing of at least 6 feet between individuals should also be postponed or canceled. The newly issued public health emergency is not applicable to exemptions, essential public transportation, airports, shopping at stores or malls, congregate living, activities such as school attendance, work, or essential services. Additionally, Dr. Heng Ansorg, the county health officer of the Santa Barbara County Public Health Department, has informed the city of Solvang that the restriction on public gatherings of more than 250 people does not apply to the farmers market. The city will be seeking further guidance concerning other outdoor events. As part of this new development, the city of Solvang will revoke the event permit for the 2020 Solvang Century Cycling event, which was scheduled to be held in Santa Ynez Valley the weekend of March 14, 2020. Although none of the cycling events' mass gatherings were planned to occur within the city of Solvang, the city of Solvang did issue an event permit to the organizers of the race in July of 2019. The race's start and finish were scheduled to occur in the city of Buellton. The city of Solvang does not have any currently permitted events scheduled within the city through April 15, 2020. Regardless of the event parameters as pertain to COVID-19, the City of Solvang does encourage healthy locals and visitors to support the local economy by continuing to patronize Santa Ynez Valley merchants, organizations, and businesses. The County of Santa Barbara maintains that the issuance of the public health emergency was driven by the increase of people who require testing for COVID-19. The county also maintained that radical implementation has been proven effective for this epidemic and that socioeconomic impact is minimized over the long run. Solvang Mayor Ryan Toussaint will be involved in a follow-up mayors group meeting with federal and state representatives to address the potential financial impacts to the community and in particular to the tourism industry from COVID-19. At the writing of this release, there are no reported cases of COVID-19 within Santa Barbara County. However, any person who suspects that they have contracted COVID-19 is urged to self-quarantine at home. Our local businesses are working on ways to service the community so that the public may remain in their homes. The City of Solvang urges residents and businesses to continue to monitor the County of Santa Barbara Department of Public Health COVID-19 Public Information Portal, which is updated on a daily basis. The most important public action, which doctors are stressing at this point, is that frequent and thorough hand washing with warm water and soap is one of the best ways to help protect against transmission and contraction of COVID-19. If any individual suspects that they have contracted the virus, they're asked to please call ahead of their healthcare provider before using the provider's offices and hospitals. Symptoms of COVID-19 may appear 2 to 14 days after exposure and are most frequently fever and symptoms of respiratory illness, namely cough and shortness of breath. Persons most at risk for contracting the virus are those who have been in close contact with a person known to have COVID-19, or those who live in or have recently traveled to the area with ongoing spread. It is requested that patients alert their healthcare provider as to the recent travel or contact. Healthcare professionals will work with each patient's local public health department to determine if they need to be tested for COVID-19. Any person unsure of whether or not they should self-quarantine or keep their children home from schools may use these general symptoms as guidelines for staying at home: cough, temperature, severe runny nose, difficulty breathing, body aches. Persons who are experiencing painful breathing, shortness of breath, or a long fever over multiple days should contact their health provider. Should the county start to see diagnosed cases of COVID-19, the Santa Barbara County currently has 62 airborne infectious isolation rooms throughout our 5 county hospitals. Cottage Hospital has 47 beds in negative pressure isolation rooms, meaning in the air treated and removed with the capacity to add more if needed.
Let me ask you again. So what you just read, the last couple sentences suggest there's only about 100 of these special rooms?
That's correct.
And that seems to suggest this is why we're taking these extreme measures, because the county simply doesn't have the capacity to deal with this kind of situation.
That's the overall message I think we are hearing from the doctors. It's really to first contain, but if not contain, then to slow down.
They're really
the
trying to
spread
slow the spread as fast as
to help
possible.
the health professionals.
Thank you.
Are there any questions of the staff report? Further ones?
Actually, not the staff report. Are we able to ask any questions?
Anything relative to this issue? Yes.
Yeah, have we, other than posting on our public website and doing press release and having all this information attached, have we put up signs anywhere? Has the city put up signs around town, just alerting people and putting the website up, so if we have tourists that come to town, just so that they know what our recommendations are to
Well, this
follow?
just happened a couple hours ago,
Yeah,
so we haven't done anything.
We haven't done anything other than, our strategy to date has been to have the information from the county, which is coming from the state and the federal governments, on our website, so residents could look at that. So now that we have this new direction, we'll update our website to make sure that people are very clear about the actions taken by the city And we'll also continue to work with our business community to address both the health issues and the economic issues that are impacting this community, which is, creating those partnerships and working with our businesses and our community on also addressing the needs of businesses and making sure that our local economy stays as healthy as possible by providing any potential loaning programs that people might need when the cash flow may be lowered by lower tourism.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Have we done any stress testing on the budget with respect to this particular crisis?
We have not, and this is definitely, so we're coming right into the development of the next financial plan, whereas normally you would wish that you had a pretty clear guidance on the revenues, we are going to have a little bit of a blind spot in terms of determining how long this situation
But
will
this
take
event will
place.
show in the numbers. It'll show our
So we can do
concentration
different.
on tourism and how it affects us, which would give us data to.
Right. Obviously, the
later.
TOT is 50% of our general fund. It's very significant. So we could run some hypothetical scenarios of if revenues.
That's really
were
what I'm
down
asking.
to
I know
that
that sales tax
level.
tends to be the most volatile, and we can certainly look into that.
I would also like to talk to 8 or 9 hotels this next week and say, what has been your impact since this declaration? In fact, gauge this every week. Pick 13 hotels, 15 hotels, whatever. We need to know this
We only
information.
have 18. I'm sure we can ask them all,
And we shall.
and we should.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's this could be huge.
So I would like to actively monitor the economic vitality of the economy, as you were saying, call actively and take a look at the sales stuff. Is there going to be any kind of economic relief from the state or the county?
Probably not.
Well, we kind of addressed that a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I think, there's programs. The Small Business Administration now has $2 million in disaster assistance loans. So I expect that there will be programs. I believe the federal government has also allocated some dollar amounts now, but it's
For
not
the city.
clear as far as, I don't believe that there's any clarity.
That's the
as to
distinction I was trying to
where
make. We know that the
that
federal
dollar
government's
goes.
trying to do something for businesses, small, medium-sized businesses, but we're definitely going to be affected by this.
Mr.
already are.
Mayor, Councilmember Giornas, I asked that question because on the call that we were on today, it included representatives from both of our state Senate offices, our member of Congress's office, our state senator, and our state assembly member. They didn't have answers for us yet, but all of the other cities were interested in that same issue. And so there is a plan to have a follow-up meeting that would be, I'll call it mayor-centric, because the other cities also said that they wanted to have their mayors involved to follow up with those state.
Wasn't it also
representatives.
tourist mayor-centric?
It was
Not just mayor.
Yeah, tourism, community, mayor-centric, yeah.
And it basically says that in the press release.
Oh, good. Okay.
All
You guys, this is also new. A lot of the questions we're asking, we're going to come back and revisit in a week or two because we're going to see where this pans out. The fact that they sent all these go into effect until March 30th to me is extremely optimistic, and I sure hope this is the case because this could be huge, and I just don't
And
want it to
the
be.
future will hold more of these because everything is globalization and travel and everything. That's what creates these scenarios where things can travel very
Yeah.
fast.
I think it definitely what the feeling on the call with the county was that this was temporary through March 30th. They were also still kind of working on more clear guidelines about the social distancing of 6 feet.
Which
So
is odd.
there may be more guidance going forward on what exactly that means and how that is actually enforceable. One of the other things that I just want to mention that came from the county today is that they have announced that they closed the library of Solvang through the end of March. So that's officially closed as of today through end of March. And we will be, as city, also reviewing our policies in accordance with this new order in terms of our public parks department and our programs, and also our city operations with guidance to employees for essential services and then other services and positions that could potentially work remotely, shall we reach that level of need.
Are there any other questions?
Nope.
Okay, with that, we'll go to public comment. I have no speaker slips on this item. Doesn't appear to be anyone in the room that wants to speak on this item. I'll take it back to the council for discussion and action. If there's not much conversation on this, I can throw out some suggested motions and
Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you to staff for working so hard and so fast on this issue. I know they started late last evening and continued on through the day. Everything was changing so fast. The facts were changing. The phone calls were coming in basically every hour, and they kept up with all of it and were able to provide that leadership, not just for the city, but also I think for the community at large. People are looking to Solvang in terms of the valley for guidance in terms of the community safety as well as the business health. So thank you again.
Yeah, agreed.
thank you.
Make a motion.
All right, so I'll make a motion. There's several elements here I think we have to address. So I'll move that we adopt the county public health order, authorize staff to pull the Solvang Century permit and work and for the city manager to review any outstanding permits and hold new near-term permit applications. Authorize suggested press release, direct staff to work with the business community to find potential ways to mitigate economic impacts. Authorize the mayor to send a letter to the state and federal representatives seeking financial assistance under the emergency declarations. We talked about SB loans, for example. Authorize staff to cooperate with federal and state and county health officials to implement any future order or guidance. And authorize the city manager to develop a policy guideline for qualified employees to work remotely from home when feasible. So I think that accomplishes everything that's been talked about at this table. Staff can also follow up with the hotels to get a pulse on the current impacts of the TOT, or, you know, what's the average occupancy rate today, things like that. So, but
Engage us day by day.
yeah,
Okay,
I'll second that.
it
I'm
too.
sorry.
it's been moved and seconded.
I think we're all in
Yep.
agreement.
Excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Diarnis,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Waite,
Yes,
Mayor Toussaint.
Yes.
That motion carries articulated by Mayor Toussaint, including 7 points or 7 motions within one. So thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Perfect. I just want to thank everyone for being available within basically a 2-hour notice, and we have a whole council here. So thank you, and we're adjourned.
Thank you. Turned off, Patrick?